Blake Snell, let's start with him. And it feels like, I don't know, man. Like, it feels like, at least according to the reports. I mean, again, I don't know what is leverage. I don't know what is actually true. But the one team that we keep seeing are the Yankees with Blake Snell. We saw them a while ago, 6 years, 150. I feel like I've said that probably a million times by now. But that is the only reported offer that's out there. We've seen other teams in the mix, especially on the West Coast, the Angels, the Giants, the Mariners. We keep seeing the Angels popping up here and there. But the team that seems to be locked in, I don't know if locked in is really even the right term. Locked in the most? Is that the right way to say it? And who knows how much that actually is, are the Yankees. And we got a little something here from John Heyman today, saying that there's been a lot of internet buzz on the Yankees and Blake Snell, though there's no evidence there's been significant movement in talks in weeks. And the sides are at least chatting. A slight softening on the Yankees' part was recently detected. He also goes on to say here, a Yankees person who'd been saying for weeks they are done seeking Snell only noted late this week that Snell's camp would have to move or lower their demands to get something done. I mean, who knows what those demands even are at this point? Is it still 5-6 years? I mean, obviously Boris would like to get as many years and dollars as he can, but I mean, realistically speaking, is that realistic at this point? Are you looking at a 1-year deal right now where you maximize that AAV, go back out on the market next year? I will say this. I feel like not a lot of people have said this. Let's say Blake Snell took a 1-year deal to go to the Yankees, and he pitches his butt off in New York. Could you imagine how much he would increase his stock? Let's say he goes and has a spectacular season in the Bronx, right? ERA right around what it was this year, still a good-looking FIP, still good strikeout numbers, maybe even gets the walks down. I mean, who knows what kind of money he could end up getting if he goes back out into the market next year. But it's not just the numbers that he would put up, but it's also the perception, too, that he can go to a big market like New York with all that pressure and pitch well. He would get himself, I think, a good raise in his stock, right? So that is one thing to think about there. And I've said it all offseason. I said with Blake Snell, I feel like he is just going to go wherever and pitch. He gives me that vibe. Like you know what I mean? Like he doesn't care as long as he's pitching, right? He'll do a 1-year deal. Obviously, we're all thinking, long-term deal, 5-6 years, maybe even 7 if he could get that. I honestly don't think he would really care about doing a 1-year. Honestly, I feel like he could even be very motivated by that. We've seen the 1-year prove-it deals. It's weird with Snell because it's not really like a prove-it kind of a deal, but I think he could maybe even prove a little bit more. And hey, I think it could work out. I don't know what is going on my computer. It keeps saying the page is unresponsive. But we also got a little something from Hal Steinbrenner today. Of course, everything wants to stop working. New computers coming soon, everyone. I got an update today on the guy that's building it. Says that he just got the last couple of parts in, and hopefully we get that new computer soon. But Hal Steinbrenner did say this today. He says, I think we have a championship caliber team right now, but we haven't stopped looking to improve. Given where we are payroll-wise, any addition to the club is going to be a costly one. But I'm still willing to consider anything that comes my way. It's also like a pretty decent way, in my opinion, for him to say, like, hey, Scott Boras, if you're reading this anywhere, let's just get a bit more of a fair offer. I wonder if Boras, if there is a 1-year deal, I wonder if he's even asking for like $40 million for 1 year. You know what I mean? Like, just going crazy. But I think with the Yankees, that's what it sounds like to me, right? That they're willing to do Blake Snell, or they're willing to do a contract, but I think they just want it to be a fair number, right? So we'll see. I mean, like we mentioned this the other night, myself and Jim, but then a show before that too, where we went over the Yankee payroll. It is a massive payroll right now, and there's not a whole lot of money coming off the books unless you consider Soto. But I mean, to me, the Yankees, they need to sign Soto. So that's a given, right? So I don't know if they would want to get locked into Blake Snell for more than 1 year. That's what I said the other night too. I feel like at this point, they already signed Stroman for the few years. You know, I don't know, man. I just get this feeling that they would be okay with a 1 year. Like, yeah, you're going to have to pay a ton in luxury tax fees. It would be astronomical what they would have to pay. But people in Yankee land, they're getting impatient, man. And when you go back to all those years, right? I mean, yeah, you had the dynasty in the late 90s, right? But the Yankees have always been that team to go out there, spend the money. They're one of the richest franchises in the entire world. I think, to me, man, like, go out there and get it done, right? And you can figure out a way to reset that tax in the next couple of years. So I don't know. I don't know if I see the Snell thing happening for more than one. I could be wrong. I mean, who knows what the Yankees' intentions are, but could this also be a play, right? When we get back to this quote here from John Heyman, you know, could this also, I don't know, maybe Scott Boras is also trying to maybe even create some kind of leverage here. Could it be where he's still trying to get the Angels to budge on a multi-year deal, right? Because the way it seems is that it's a short-term kind of a thing that's really on the table with the Yankees and Snell. But I would imagine Boras at this point is probably wanting to still try and get a long-term deal. And I feel like the only team at this point that even feels realistic for that are the Angels. So we'll see what ends up happening here. But it feels like there could maybe be a step in a direction where we see Blake Snell in pinstripes. And if they end up getting him, that rotation's nasty. I mean, you'd basically have Nestor Cortez as your long reliever at that point. We'll see. We'll see. But our next story, let's move on to another one of the Boris 4. And we got a little Jordan Montgomery. Not too much, but a little something, right? We had John Heyman going on his Bleacher Report stream, like I said in the intro for the show. Feels like it's the same thing every single week, right? It's like, I even posted a meme on Twitter today where, remember when Vine was a big thing, right? Anyone remember Vine, right? They're like, that was like the old TikTok, basically. Vine was like so big at one point. There was always one where it was had the Disney Channel intro. Remember the Disney Channel movies? And then all of a sudden this dude just starts running in and he like tackles the camera because the Disney Channel movie was coming on. Like, I posted that today when the John Heyman streams are booting up, even though he's going to say the same thing every time. But I'm glad I listened today because there was a little something different, and I do have the clip for you. Let's go take a look here. John Heyman in his luxurious Miami apartment, wherever the heck he is. I always find it so funny that he's always like on his balcony. So it's always funny to me. Here we go. Let's take a listen.
Monty to the Cubs. Not going to rule it out. Monty, very good friends with Jameson Taillon, who I happened to run into when I was in Chicago about a month ago. And I'm sure he'd love to have him on the Cubs. And again, cannot rule that out.
Now, just really quick, I want to comment on that. I don't know, man. Like, I know we've been seeing, stuff like that in the past where, like, okay, they got a friend or whatever. This player A has a friend that's on this team. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But I have said with Jordan Montgomery and the Cubs is that there is a fit there, right? The Cubs, they haven't really done much of anything, and obviously their focus has been Cody Bellinger. Is Jordan Montgomery really that guy for them? Like, I don't know. Like, Imanaga was a nice ad, in my opinion. Imanaga's more of like that 3-4 in a rotation, whereas Montgomery is going to be more of like that 2 in your rotation. He would definitely upgrade that Cubs rotation. So that is one team I wonder that is a dark horse for him, right? Where I've mentioned the Phillies, the Astros, right? Where maybe those teams could come out of nowhere for him. But I feel like there hasn't been a lot of buzz on those couple of teams. But I wonder if the Cubs, could be something. Like, I don't know. Like, that one was weird to me. It's like, why does it really matter? Like, obviously, Jameson Taillon, if he's friends with Montgomery, would love to have him on the Cubs. But, like, I don't know. Is that, like, worthy of reporting? I don't know. Just felt a little to me. Anyway.
So, Montgomery. I mean, the Red Sox were definitely talking to Montgomery about 2 weeks ago. And that did seem to be a consideration, but there has been no movement on that since then. And I'm here in Miami. Montgomery is working out back somewhere back there, a little bit south of me and a little bit west, and working out and waiting patiently. And we will talk about how patient these guys are going to be on the timetable issue. But right now, Snell, Yankees, they're in contact. I don't know that there's any offer or negotiation with the Yankees, but certainly there is some buzz there. Montgomery, Red Sox, Cubs, again, the Giants, Angels, if they get going more. Now, the Giants have signed 3 free agents, but to compete with the Dodgers, obviously they need to do more. Will the Cubs make more moves? I do think so. As I said, Bellinger likely with the Cubs.
All right, so let's talk about those teams, right? I already talked about the Cubs. That could work, right? If they're willing to pony up and get the money, right? And sign Montgomery. Sure, yeah, they could do that. I feel like Bellinger is probably the guy they're waiting for since they already added pitching with Imanaga. So the Giants, I don't know. I get this feeling, I don't know, like something with maybe I'm wrong. I just don't see it, right? The Giants have already made some moves. I don't know, man. I also don't know if Montgomery would want to go out west, with his wife in Boston. Like, I'm not sure what the situation is with that. So I get it. Players, maybe they got to move. But, like, I don't know. Usually with players, wife comes along, kids come along. And, like, I don't know. But with his wife doing her residency at Harvard, would he want to go out west? I don't know. Doesn't seem like, at least in my opinion, I don't know if that would be viable for him. And the Angels, same thing. I just get this feeling he's probably not going out west. I'm basing that off of just my own perception. I just don't see it with the Giants or the Angels. I feel like he ends up staying on the East Coast. That's just the way I think about it. But maybe, who knows, we get a surprise. So, obviously, I'm going to touch on the Red Sox here. He did mention here, he said that they were definitely talking a couple of weeks ago, but he hasn't heard anything. And of course, Red Sox Twitter land, they all just wanted to jump off a cliff at that statement. Like, oh my God, oh no, they haven't talked. Heyman said they haven't talked. Oh, that's what John Heyman has heard or not heard, right? I mean, how many times have we seen over and over and over again where reporters haven't heard something or they've even heard something, and then the complete opposite ends up happening, right? Robert Murray not too long ago. I'm not saying Robert Murray is the same level as John Heyman, but Robert Murray on his stream that he does, literally like a person asked, hey, are the Pirates, are they going to sign anyone? And both him and the co-host or whatever started laughing, and then they said no. Or Robert Murray said no, the Pirates aren't doing anything. And then literally like 3 hours later, the Aroldis Chapman signing was announced. And I'm like, it's like one thing if you get something wrong, like, okay, I've had many times wrong. But the fact that you like laugh about it and like you just looked like really bad in that spot to me. And no one brings that up. Like, I don't get that. It's like, I did not like that. It was not a good look to me. Anyway, and that's not the point. The point is just because a reporter hasn't heard something doesn't mean it's, nothing's happening, right? And that might sound like I'm coping. I can understand that. But I'm just looking at it from a common sense point of view. It doesn't mean I just don't want people to overreact to that statement. Maybe it could mean something, but I don't know. We'll see. But obviously, you all know my stance on this. And I think a lot of people agree, even if they're not a Red Sox fan. It's the best fit. It's the best fit. And it's just, if it doesn't happen, it's just so silly to me. We'll see. We've been getting a lot of people around Red Sox land. Pretty much right now, John Henry is the difference. Jared Carrabis, and Tyler Milliken, they were talking on the Name Redacted podcast, and Jared was basically saying everyone in the front office knows that this would be a good signing, right? Craig Breslow, everyone knows it's a good signing, but it comes down to John Henry if he is willing to open up the checkbook to get this done. I would like to think ultimately it does with the Red Sox because it just makes too much sense, right? And now I'm getting all these people coming out of the woodworks all of a sudden like, oh, Jordan Montgomery. It's so funny how Red Sox fans think he's the savior. Like, where are these people coming from? Are they bots? Like, I don't know. Who are these people? It's like they come out of nowhere. And, like, everyone is talking all offseason how he's a perfect fit. And then you get all these people like, oh, he's not the savior. He's not going to do anything. Like, who are you? Where was this like a month ago? Anyway, you all know what I think. It's the perfect fit. I think the Red Sox need to get it done. We will see. We will see. But that is the latest update when it comes to Montgomery, is that Heyman has heard that there have been conversations. I think, honestly, out of all the updates that we've gotten, I think that's the most substantial update minus the Texas Rangers TV money. So, we'll see. We will see. But let's get to our next story. And we got a little something today. A little something in spring training. Not anything. Well, I guess maybe you could say it's free agent related. Could it lead to a free agent addition? Probably not. But Kodai Senga, going to be starting the year on the IL. Has let me make sure I have this correct, a posterior capsule strain in the right shoulder. Sounds like he was probably ramping up before spring training, probably ramped up a little too soon, a little too hard, and there you are. So there's your setback, right? And so my guess is they're going to make sure they are very careful with this because, to me, I personally think the Mets can compete this year, right? I think they can contend. I don't see how that is out of the question. I think they have a decent team. They have to have a lot of things go their way, but it's not impossible, right? Especially with 3 wild cards. I think the Mets could make some noise. We'll see. But Kodai Senga, definitely, him not being on the team, in my opinion, definitely hurts their chances a little bit. Even if you go back to the Jacob deGrom, after he was signed, he still made a few starts, right? Let's say he doesn't make those couple of starts where they picked up wins in a couple of his starts. Would the Texas Rangers have made the playoffs? I don't know. I mean, who knows? Like, even though, yeah, deGrom, of course, it was very tough to see him go down yet again, but that little bit that he contributed ended up being the difference for them getting into the postseason. So this is why I think losing a guy like this, that's tough, right? Losing your ace, that could end up costing you, maybe a couple wins. So who knows? The Mets at the end of the year, they finished with 83 wins, 84 wins, just miss out on the 3rd wild card spot. Could this end up being the difference? You never know. But you got a few guys that are in line to step into the number 5 spot in the rotation. Basically, everyone's just going to slide up a spot. Looks like Jose Quintana will most likely get the opening day nod. It sort of kind of feels like when Corey Kluber got the opening day start for the Red Sox last year. It's like, oh, Jose Quintana. Okay, all right, let's do it. But David Stearns, he did comment on this today. Of course, my computer is going, like, so slow. Oh, brother. I can't stand this. Like, I have stuff loaded, and then everything on Google just wants to refresh. So let me make sure. I believe it was at, like, the 150 mark. There it is. Here we go. So let's take a listen to David Stearns today. He talked about basically Kodai Senga with the injury and whatnot. We'll get past that part, but we'll go to the next question from one of the reporters.
Diagnose it and move forward.
You're always looking, always listening, but does this increase the likelihood at all of adding somebody before opening day?
I don't think so. I think, as you said, we're always going to be opportunistic and hear what's out there, but I don't think it really changes our thought process.
You look at McGill, Budo, and Luke Casey as kind of that first group, that first wave, or is there more that could?
That's probably the right grouping. Those are the guys with major league experience. We got a lot of, I think, exciting young starters in camp, and so I'm excited to watch those guys as well. But
so David Stearns basically just saying here, probably not going to have any other additions. They'll stay opportunistic. They'll be open, but I don't see them going after Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell. I just don't see it. Because they are looking towards the future, right? They still want to put the best team they can on the field for this coming season. Doesn't mean they're, punting on the season. They're still going to try and compete, but they're not going to be really game changers in the market. So, and he basically said that, and I kind of buy into it. And I saw some people saying, oh, well, of course he's going to say those kind of things. He doesn't want to reveal his hand. Like, no, I feel like they're pretty much set. They're not going to go out. Maybe they could go after a smaller ticket kind of guy, depending on how spring training shakes up. Maybe another guy goes down. So maybe you could make a move for like a Michael Lorenzen or something like that. But taking a look at the current rotation, like I said, Jose Quintana, he's going to open up the season. Then right behind him, I mean, who would have thought Luis Severino would end up being the number 2 in the rotation after just the dreadful season that he had last year? He's had all the injuries, and now all of a sudden you have your number 2 starter. So Sean Manaea is now your number 3. Adrian Hauser, I thought, was a solid pickup. So good thing they got him. That's a guy that can give you innings. So right now, Fangraphs, they are projecting Tyler McGill to be that guy in the 5 spot. So we mentioned a couple of guys. We said Tyler McGill. Oh, my goodness, my computer. We had Joey Lucchesi. So these are the 2 veteran guys that could definitely step in for you. And then we got Jose Budo. So Jose Budo to me is an interesting one where he had some decent numbers last year. We'll see. He's on the younger side. Let's see if maybe, he has a good spring and maybe he can grab the position by the horns, right? So if we're looking at just the numbers overall, Tyler McGill last season, I remember there was a lot of hype over Tyler McGill not too long ago, to the point where Jolly Olive even, I believe, made a video on Tyler McGill. I think it even got to that level of hype. But, overall, the numbers with Tyler McGill have not been sensational. ERA at a 4.70, FIP at a 4.96. Now, the one thing with Tyler McGill that looked really strong from 2021 to 2022 were the strikeout numbers, the strikeout to walk numbers, right? Almost 10 strikeouts per 9, both those seasons, and the walks were in the 2s. The only problem with him is that he was giving up the long ball, almost 2 home runs per 9 in 2021, and then he got hurt in 22. His numbers had improved, right? His FIP was a 3.77 in 2022 compared to that ERA, but I forget what the injury was exactly, but he went down. And then last year, it was kind of, everything went down. He wasn't striking out as many guys. The command wasn't as sharp. He was still giving up a few home runs. So Tyler McGill, I would imagine he would be the guy. Let's see if he can take a step forward. He's turning 28? He's already 28. So I could see him simply getting that job, right? He's been the veteran guy there for a bit. And you got Luke Casey, who's an interesting case, had made a few starts. Remember, he missed a lot of time, missed all of 2022, and then only had 9 starts last year. So actually, if we go take a look at the game log with Luke Casey, he started the year, and then he ended up missing like 3 months, right? And he came back, and he was doing okay, right? He had 2 starts against the Marlins. He had a really good start against the Diamondbacks. So most of his the numbers that he had given up came earlier on. So he ended up looking pretty strong there in the last couple of starts. But again, health-wise, we'll see, right? Maybe this is another guy where maybe he ends up battling something. So I think Luke Casey is definitely someone to keep an eye out for. And then you got Jose Buto, where the FIP was a healthy 4.02. All right, he's the younger guy out of the bunch, just coming up recently, had a cup of coffee in 2022, spent all of 2023 in the minor leagues. So, I don't know, the numbers weren't great though. And then, he didn't spend all, I take that back. He did not spend all of 2023. He spent most of 2023. But he did have a cup of coffee, and the numbers were okay. He didn't give up a lot of home runs, but he gave up a lot of walks. So, something to keep an eye out for. It feels like a classic position battle for spring training, right? These are the 3 guys. Which one can emerge, right? So we'll see. If we were to take a look at the StatCast numbers, of course, everything is not loading. With the StatCast numbers, you're not seeing anything too amazing with these guys. The one thing with McGill, he has a ton of extension. So the potential with him is there. He has the velocity, right? If he can just kind of put everything together, the fact that he has that much extension, I'm not saying that's the end all be all, but it really brings a lot of deception. And if he can get everything going, I mean, there's definitely a lot of upside there, in my opinion. And Luke Casey, like I said, a strong end to the year last year, but when you're looking at all the numbers, you're just not really seeing a whole lot. He gets a lot of ground balls. So he feels like more of a spot starter to me at this point, like that long reliever in that bullpen that can kind of come in and make a start when you need to. And then with Jose Buto, doesn't give up a lot of barrels. That's the one thing that jumps off here. And he does get a lot of swing and misses. He just feels like a guy that's not fully there yet. I wonder if he ends up being more of a bullpen guy when I see, like that strong whiff percentage. So we'll see. Or maybe you just, hey, you go to that free agent market. Actually, before I get to the free agent options, maybe one of these guys down in the minor leagues, can emerge. You had a couple of guys here. Christian Scott was really good in the minor leagues last year. You got Mike Vassell. That's a guy that seems like he's on the cusp. So maybe one of these guys could win a spot out of spring training. We'll see. It feels like it's going to be one of those 3 guys. Or you could turn to the free agent market. Like I said, if you got some injuries that pop up, hey, things can change, right? Maybe one of these guys end up going down, and maybe you got to turn to the market. I don't know. Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell, I don't see that for the Mets. Mike Clevinger, yeah, maybe. I don't think that's out of the question. Michael Lorenzen, I think Lorenzen, to me, wherever he goes, I think that's a nice pickup for a team. It's a guy that's going to give you innings. Urias, I think he has been sent to the sun. I don't think he's going anywhere. Greinke, I think he's only going to Kansas City if he pitches. Rich Hill. I don't know. Rich Hill seems like he kind of wants to take some time off in the beginning of the year, come back for the second half. I'm going down the list. Dallas Keuchel. I'm going down the list. Let's go even a little further here. Madison Bumgarner, nah. Noah Syndergaard? Oh, maybe a reunion? I don't know. Probably doesn't seem to be in the cards. I'm looking. Jake Odorizzi? I don't know. Too many health risks. Oh, look at that. Oh, man. Who's that? Trevor Bauer. I haven't heard of that guy in a long time. Trevor Bauer. Interesting. It's really funny because Tyler Wardy, NYM, he did a video today on the injury with Kodai Senga. And the top comment on that video was, sign Trevor Bauer to the league minimum. Listen, from a pitching point of view, it makes so much sense. I mean, good grief. Could you imagine? I mean, there's your ace, but obviously we all know, what there's like I've said before with Bauer, there's two sides. You got one side that says, yes, Bauer deserves to come back. And then you got the other side that says, no, Bauer should be nowhere near Major League Baseball. It's divided, all right? So no one is going to win the debate. It's going to forever be an argument, all right? The one thing with Bauer that you can definitely agree on, he can definitely help you with the rotation, but no matter which way you think, is the owner of that organization going to want to deal with the headache? No matter what, even if you defend Bauer, even if you're against Bauer, at the end of the day, there is a headache there, right? There is definitely a big breath that you're going to have to. If you sign Bauer, you are breathing in a big bubble of air and you're just bracing for the worst, right? Could Steve Cohen, listen, Steve Cohen, at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know why he comes off to me as a guy that could go either way on this. He could go, why not? Let's do it, right? He could see where Bauer is willing to take less money, do the incentives. I wonder if Steve Cohen could see the return on investment being worth it on the field. But then I could also see Steve Cohen saying, is that going to help us publicly, right? I'm very curious to see where Steve Cohen would fall there. I wouldn't count it out. Probably not. I would say like a 0.5% chance. But I wonder. It's the Mets at the end of the day. It is the Mets. And the Mets always seem to do something that where LOL Mets comes back up again. I think if there's ever a time for that, it sounds like something the Mets would do. I don't know. He would help them. So let's move on, everyone. Let's move on. I do want to get to tonight's sponsor. And everyone, I do just want to make you aware that our sponsor, BetUS, they now have an updated deal. So in the description below, so as you can see here, we now have like the bouncing, what do you even call it? Where it says link in the description. How neat is that? It bounces up and it pops up in front of you. I love the animated stuff. But as you can see, it says in there a 125% bonus. But now you can get a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,500. That's incredible, right? You have that much room to play with, and you would still get a 125% bonus on each of your first 3 deposits. That's insane. That is a great deal. And I'm not even just saying that to try and promote the sponsor. It's like, what? That's an insane deal. But since we're talking about the Mets, let's go take a look at the current odds for the Mets. So just kind of running through all of the baseball betting odds that they have as of right now. So you can bet on season awards, stat leaders, specials, even college baseball, right? You can do the divisions, the pennants, playoff futures, regular season wins, World Series winners as well. But let's take a look. Let's take a look at the New York Mets when it comes to making the playoffs. Let's see what the odds are as of right now. So they're at plus 160. So what that means, just make it simple for you, for every $100 that you bet, that's how much extra you would win if you were to bet $100. So if we bet $100, you would win $160 on top of that, right? So not bad. Not a bad line right there. If we were to go here, where we go to the regular season wins for the New York Mets, let's take a look. All right. So as of right now, they're at over under 82 and a half. 82 and a half. So I want you to do in the chat for me right here. In the chat, I want you to go over under 82 and a half wins for the Mets. So I want you to type in over or under. Let's see what you're all thinking. I'm very curious. For me personally, I think they can get over that. I think they have a pretty decent team. I think they could get 83. I think they could just beat that. I'm seeing under. I see 6 unders, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4 overs. Evil Otto, you're saying rough division, still over. Joshua, you think 78 wins, so you're taking the under. Tom, you're thinking over. All right, so we're seeing a bit of a mix. So, but if you were to take advantage of the deal that BetUS is pushing right now, this could be a good chance to go bet. And if it's not just the Mets, you got all the other teams out there. If you're feeling pretty good, I already put down a couple of bets on my MVP picks for this year. I went with Julio Rodriguez and Fernando Tatis Jr. I'm just saying, I might win pretty good. But definitely go take a look at the odds. There's some good values on there, so definitely take advantage of them. And again, a 125% bonus. That's really not that bad. And also, everyone, they are not sponsoring tonight's stream, but they did sponsor our last video. I do need your help if you can. I also have this link in the description below. You won't have to pay anything for this. If you can, just help me out here. It could go a long way when it comes to, the helping support the channel for the future. So in our last video, Aura, they sponsored our video. So Aura, great company when it comes to protecting your personal information online, when it comes to email addresses, simply just your name out there, any personal information, Aura can protect it. Right now, they're running a free trial where all you have to do is just sign up for the free trial and you can cancel anytime. So the more free trials we get, that maybe could lead to something long-term in the future. So if you can help us out here, I would greatly appreciate it. The link is in the description. It brings you right to my sign-up page. All you got to do is a free trial. Don't have to pay anything, and you can cancel it tomorrow, no charge at all. So if you can, help us out there. It really does go a long way in supporting the channel. So let's get to it here. We got a couple more stories to talk about. And let's start off with Tim Anderson. Right? It's so funny how Tim Anderson, not too long ago, man, this guy seemed like he was one of the faces of baseball. And he just has, just fallen off. It's crazy. Go back to that amazing game between the White Sox and the Yankees in the Field of Dreams, right? Remember how revved up everyone was over that, and Tim Anderson had the walk-off, and man, that was just such a great moment. And then last year we see Tim Anderson, unfortunately, I hate to, pick on someone when they're down, but just getting knocked out, right? Got into a bit of a tuffle with Jose Ramirez, and he fell like a sack of potatoes, right? Sorry, I'm just pointing it out. But Tim Anderson, he's really fallen a long way, but he found a new home today. Found a new home today. Miami, $5 million, according to Jesse Rogers of ESPN. And I like the move. I think it's a good move, right? It kind of fits into both sides where Tim Anderson is looking for a prove-it kind of a deal, where Miami, at the end of the day, Miami is Miami. There's not really a whole lot of money going on for the Marlins, right? But this could be a good chance for them where it could give them an opportunity to really get a lot, maybe a bounce back season out of Tim Anderson, and this could go a long way in for him to restoring his value, and the Marlins could reap all the benefits of it. Now, the one thing with Tim Anderson is last season his numbers were pretty poor overall. My goodness, my computer. I need that new computer. I need it so badly. Please. Computer gods, can you please get me the new computer? So shortstop right now, Tim Anderson is slated there. They needed a shortstop all offseason, right? John Birdie was the guy that was in there, and I'm thinking like, my goodness, Willie Adames, like someone please fill that spot. And I was saying for a while, I think Tim Anderson was a no-brainer for the Miami Marlins. It just seemed to make a whole lot of sense. And another thing too, it gives the Marlins a bit of a face, right? Sure. He's definitely fallen off a little bit, but it's still Tim Anderson at the end of the day. You know you're going to see his face. If you go to a Marlins game, you're going to see his face somewhere, right? Whether it's on a billboard or like a banner or something, right? Tim Anderson is Tim Anderson. You know, he was one of the faces of the game at one point, right? One of the more popular players in the game. So I think it works out. I think honestly, this is a deal that I think could really benefit the Marlins long term, right? I think they're going to get a lot out of it, in my opinion. You're going to have the Tim Anderson probably bobblehead night. That's what I think, honestly. We'll see. But another thing with Tim Anderson, too, I think it gives him an environment where Miami, a little more laid back, right? Not really a whole lot of people go to Marlins games these days. So I think it gives Anderson a time to really take a step back, breathe a little bit, whereas, White Sox fans, they were, hey, they're passionate fans at the end of the day, right? So I think it gets them a little bit away from that environment. It gives them a fresh start. So now, again, with Tim Anderson, the big thing with him last year was obviously the numbers fell off, right? Let's just go take a look at the overall numbers whenever my computer wants to load. My goodness, you're killing me right now. Overall, not a good season. The one home run, we'll get to that. One home run. Right? He's never been too much of a power hitter, but goodness, one? So 123 games, only hit 245, had an OPS under 600. That's just wild. A 60 WRC plus, a negative Fangraph WAR. He took away value from the White Sox, whatever value was there, right? Defensively, he was okay, but offensively, my goodness, he completely fell off. However, one thing with Tim Anderson to point out, I think there is a bit of hope with him, and I think he could get back to putting up some solid numbers that could help him when he goes back out onto the market next year. If you take a look at his second half numbers, he did improve, right? So if you look, first half, he hit 223. Second half, he hit 274. The on base went up to 321 in the second half, and the slugging was still low, but the ISO went up a little bit from 0.40 to 0.64. WRC plus, not great, but it did go up to an 83. So the big thing with Tim Anderson is he was battling a knee injury last year. That was something he was trying to play through, and it's pretty evident. Now, if you ever want to see if a guy is like working around some kind of an injury, especially in the lower half, you can just go look at the sprint speed. All right. If you go look at Tim Anderson, he's right in the middle when it comes to his sprint speed. Right. But if you go back to 2022, he was right near the top 20%. Right. So his sprint speed fell down quite a bit. And that suggests to me that, yeah, he was battling through something right there. So, and then, yeah, There was a knee thing going on with him. Right? If you go look at the advanced numbers from a couple of years ago, expected batting average, expected slugging, expected on-base average, everything was looking pretty solid, right? Not a whole lot of exit velocity. Now, he's never really been like a power hitter, right? Always a 15, 20 home run kind of a guy. I like that, right? I think that's fine, especially if you're, hitting over 300, you're getting on base a good amount. You don't need the power because he brings a different game, right? A little pop here and there, that's fine, right? But, and along with the base running too, and he's always been pretty decent for the most part when it comes, to me, he's not the best fielder in my opinion. I think he's more of a second baseman, right? Especially when you look at the range and his arm strength, right? His range was pretty good back in 21, but never really, not the strongest arm, in my opinion. And then his range just completely tanked this coming year. But that could also have to do with that knee issue too. So I don't know. I think Tim Anderson, he comes off more as a second baseman to me, but I don't know. That's just me. But man, that one home run last year, that is just wild. That is wild. One home run, and there it is. Just one. But overall, I like the signing. I think it's a good move. It's not going to hurt the Marlins at all. I mean, I don't know. Maybe $5 million will hurt the Marlins. I mean, they can't even get a dozen bagels for the staff. That's how low on money these guys are. They're just trying to save pennies anywhere they can. I mean, my goodness. But Tim Anderson, hey, good for him. Gives him a chance to bounce back. Marlins could end up getting a lot out of that for $5 million. So we shall see. One more thing I do want to check with Tim Anderson. If we go take a look at the values. So just a couple of years ago, he was worth $16 million. And back in 2021, he was worth 37.1. So if I were to do an average of the three, so let's do 37 plus 16 minus 4, divide that by 3. So that ends up coming out to an average of around 16 million. So, hey, if you end up getting $16 million worth of value and you only pay him $5 million, not bad. Not bad. I like that. Another signing that we had today, Gio Urshela. I swear, Red Sox fans, anything negative this offseason, it has just been like unbearable. No, not one time this offseason has any Red Sox fan even sniffed the idea of Gio Urshela. Not once. Not once. His name never came up in Red Sox land at all. From the beginning to a month ago to even like a week ago. This guy's name has not popped up. And recently his name popped up with the Red Sox and there was interest there. And then today he signed with the Tigers. And then everyone in Red Sox land was once again just melting down. Like, oh, we couldn't even sign Gio Urshela. Oh, my goodness, we got outbid for Gio Urshela. I mean, what was the contract overall? It was $1.5 million. People out there were saying, oh, my goodness, the Red Sox got outbid for $1.5 million. Red Sox fans, do I have your attention? Please listen to me. He wasn't going to play all that much. Wasn't going to play all that much for the Red Sox. He was going to play against lefties. He hits lefties pretty well. Where is he going to get more playing time? Probably with the Tigers. Can we just think before we react? I mean, to me, when that happened, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I would have liked Urshela. Good solid player in New York. Yeah, hard-working player. A guy that people liked in New York. Pretty solid player overall. Decent defense, a decent bat, right? But, I mean, my world wasn't ending. And I swear, a lot of these, like, Red Sox, the Red Sox accounts, like, where they're pumping out the news and whatever, it's like, and they promote it like it's negative. And it's like, you never even thought of Gio Urshela being a Red Sox until, like, 2 days ago. And then it's like, oh, it's goodness gracious. Way better opportunity with the Tigers. Way better. I've been telling you all, I've been wondering if the Tigers could be an option for Matt Chapman. If they really wanted to, pony up that kind of money. I said I didn't really see it as completely realistic. But that was somewhere third base. Right? I've talked with you all about this before. A.J. Hinch, right, he was asked what was going on with third base. He was pretty wishy-washy with the question. And I said, probably have a rotation of guys and blah, blah, blah. It was pretty clear that he didn't sound very confident with third base, right? And Urshela, to me, a low-cost option, always been a pretty solid player. I think they're going to roll with him as much as they can. I think that's a good off-season addition, right? It's for them, they're not looking to spend a whole lot of money, and they're taking advantage of a guy that's looking to restore his value a little bit. He's going to get way more playing time with the Tigers than he would have with the Red Sox. It's like a no-brainer. I would have liked him on the Red Sox if he was going to be pretty much, playing a couple different positions here and there, gets at-bats against lefties. Obviously, his agents think, okay, you probably go to the Tigers. You'll get more playing time there, right? Why would you go somewhere where you get less playing time instead of a place where you're going to get more playing time, where he needs to restore his value a little bit because he missed a lot of time last season, right? If we take a look at Gio Urshela, he had a good game at Fenway Park one game. I still remember that guy hitting a grand slam, and I'm thinking, wow, Gio Urshela torments the Red Sox any time he can. But he was not amazing overall last year. He did miss a lot of time. He only played 62 games. He did hit 299, had a 329 on base. Slugging was whatever, but he's never really been like this huge productive bat. He's always been like a solid bat for you. You can put him in the lineup and, he'll make some stuff happen, right? But it's very clear the guy missed a lot of time last year. So yeah, he should go somewhere where he's going to get more at-bats. It's not really hard to wrap your head around, And even like Red Sox, the beat reporters out there, like Chris Cotillo or whatever, he said the Red Sox miss out on Gio Urshela, and then he puts his article in there, and then in the article he points out he probably has more playing time with the Tigers. Hey Chris, why can't you put that in the tweet? Because you need the negativity to be able to get the people to click. That's what it is. It's what all these people in the media, it's what they do. It drives me bonkers, everyone. It drives me bonkers. And everyone was melting down today over this. I like the signing for the Tigers. I'm not trying to make this about the Red Sox, but just pointing that out. The Tigers. I like the way this team looks. I like it. I think Gio Urshela, he also has been looked at as a good clubhouse kind of a guy. He's someone go back to that one catch that he made where he slid into the dugout at Yankee Stadium. I believe that's where it was, if my memory serves me correctly. Always a guy the players respect, right? A guy that's just going to go out there, he's going to play hard, right? I like that. And I think that ends up, those intangibles I think go a long way. I like the group of guys that they have here. I'm feeling pretty good about this Tigers team. You got the veterans, you got the youth, right? Torkelson, Green, Keith, the young guys, right? Parker Meadows, he'll definitely get some opportunities as well. And then you got Kana, Baez, let's see what he can do. Now you got Urshela there. You got some pitching and Flaherty and Maeda. Skubal is a guy I really think people should look out for this year. You've added some bullpen guys. I like the way this Tigers team looks. I think it's a really solid group. And I love the Urshela signing for them. I think it's great. I like the Tigers this year. I do. The Pittsburgh Pirates, our last story. Mitch Keller getting a long-term deal. $77 million guaranteed. And listen, Mitch Keller, man, this is a guy, he even popped up in trade rumors this offseason, but I'm glad the Pirates they're getting these guys locked in, right? I think that's the smart move. You got to do this, right? Because you are now entering a time where you could be competitive here. And with this division wide open, these are the guys that you want to keep around for this window, right? You got, the next few seasons here, you're going to start getting some younger guys coming up. Now you got Keller, Reynolds locked up, right? But this is a team, they could definitely make some noise in this division this year. But I think keeping Keller locked in for the next 5 seasons, you're going to get his best seasons. He's going into his prime. I think this is a great deal. $15.4 million per year. I mean, that's a very team-friendly deal for the Pirates. That's probably expensive, and I mean, my goodness, they're probably sweating at having to write those checks. My goodness, but I think it's a great move. Keep the guy happy. He's not having to worry about free agency, and he's not having to worry about what's going on with his market that's going to be coming up eventually. He can just focus on pitching for the Pirates, right? And let's say things don't work out, for the Pirates over the next couple of years, and, they keep having a couple of losing seasons. Well, if it ends up coming to a point where you trade Mitch Keller, he's got a very team-friendly contract, and if he's pitching well enough, I think teams would love to add someone like him. $15.4 million per year, right? My hope is for the Pirates to be a competitive team, and they wouldn't have to think about trading Mitch Keller. Right? I'm just saying if it gets to that point, right? Just saying. I hope it doesn't. I think that when the Pirates are playing well, I think it's good for baseball, right? They're one of these classic teams, I guess, I don't know what it is. I like the Pirates, man. I have a soft spot for the Pirates. When they had their success in the 2010s there, I don't know. I liked the Pirates, right? It was just fun team to get behind. Love the colors, obviously, of the uniforms. I like the way they are, man. And they got a lot of young talent, right? I mean, I think there's a lot of big keys for them for this coming year. A lot of big keys, right? And I think, honestly, the biggest one is Henry Davis, right? I really hope he takes a step forward this year because this was the number 1 pick. And now it looks like, they're not looking at him as a catcher all that much. It looks like he's going to be more of an outfielder because you bring in Yasmani Grandal. And Henry Davis, in my opinion, I really do hope he takes that step. That would be really big for this team. Then you also got O'Neal Cruz coming back. That's going to be a nice lift. I'm hoping Ke'Bryan Hayes can do even more with the bat. Let's see what ends up happening there. Jack Sawinski, that's going to give you some power. And honestly, I like the Yasmani Grandal signing. Hey, it never hurts to add a veteran catcher like that. He's been around for a while. Goes along with McCutcheon there. I think it's a decent team. And with that Central up in the air, hey, you never know. Maybe the Pirates can make some noise. They had 76 wins last year. Why couldn't they get into the 80-win range, right? Now that you've gotten better, why couldn't they get 80 wins? Right, we'll see. I think right now, if you get 85 wins, that could end up maybe, who knows, man? Could that end up being enough to win this division? We'll see. We'll see. If you feel good about the Pirates, make sure you get a BetUS. Put a bet down, right? Go to the over-unders for the Pittsburgh Pirates. If you feel like, maybe they could have a good season, go test it out. Go test it out. Everyone, I'm going to wrap this up for tonight. I do want to thank you so much, as always, for stopping by. We just missed our goal. The goal for tonight was 250. We're at 220. If you can help us get to 250 by the time I hit end stream, I'll love you forever. But again, don't forget about our sponsor, BetUS. Really go take advantage of the great deal they have going right now. And also, everyone, if you can, go try a free trial for Aura. Go try it out. Maybe you'll even end up liking it. Hey, maybe some of you want to have your private information protected out there. And if you don't like it, you can just cancel it anytime and you won't get charged. So, everyone, thank you so much. And if there is anything to talk about tomorrow night, I will be here. Look out for a video for this coming weekend about Scott Boras. Keep an eye out for that one. That should be a fun one. And go check out the last video that I posted yesterday. That was a fun one that I enjoyed putting that one together. Everyone, have yourself a great rest of your night. Let me just make sure there were any super chats. Nope. All right, we're good. I for some reason keep forgetting super chats, man. Gonna be on top of that. Everyone, have yourself a great rest of your night. And as always, I'll talk to you next time.